Another Gen Z idea is taking over offices around the country, and some people like it, some people don't. Steve Cotton is a financial guy that we talk to all the time. Really nice man, financial strategist and president of Cotton Wealth Management, and he can tell us a little bit more about it. Steve, I find it interesting that Gen Z is breaking one of the old baby boomer rules. You never talk about money and your salary, but they don't seem to care about that too much.
It's a good morning. Glad to be with you. It's a fascinating phenomena. And I think this is a generation that, frankly, is more trusting about the world than past generations. They've grown up in an era of relative affluence compared to the rest of the world. They've grown up in an era of relative peace. And so I think they are just open about everything. They post what they had for lunch on YouTube and the internet, and there just don't seem to be any barriers or boundaries much anymore.
Is this something that companies like? Because I know there are a lot of companies, they don't want people talking about what they make. They don't want to know the differences between this person and that person's salary.
Well, you're exactly right. And that's been the workplace culture for as far back as I can remember. But this generation is not one that they are not necessarily rule followers.
Is this creating any problems in a business? Does this cause trouble or jealousies, or does it just make people want to work better together?
Idealistically, they don't think it causes problems, but I think in reality it can. This is also the same generation that doesn't write thank you notes like previous generations did. This is an unconventional generation, and one that's very self-absorbed and naively confident about things, and sometimes that can be a little dangerous.
I have seen there are states and cities out there as well. They have what's called salary transparency or pay transparency, and they're required to post what a job pays. I think most of us have a pretty good idea what each other makes in most businesses, but once again, it comes back to this. Is this a step forward or a step backward?
I think it's hard to know the answer to that. I think there may be situations where if person A sees that person B is making a lot more money than they are and they're doing the same kind of work, that could create some animosity and pressure on the employer to be more even-handed and more fair. Some of that can be positive if it results in fairer workplace practices, but it can also be used for people's detriment. And this generation doesn't seem to be fearful of the kinds of things that other generations were fearful of, and it may be they have to learn the hard way that sometimes being discreet is more beneficial than being totally honest and open about literally everything.
You think things would have been different if we had grown up in a time when everybody talked about money and there it was, it's out there?
I don't know. That's one of those unknowable questions of the universe. That's sort of the question like, where do UFOs come from?
That's true. Yes, that's very much so. Steve Cotton is a financial strategist and president of Cotton Wealth Management. Steve, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a real pleasure.